Folks, listen carefully to me. Please, I'm begging you. The scandal regarding this release of the Horowitz report about the presence of FBI informants on the ground at the Capitol on January 6th is not the scandal. That's not the scandal. Because we knew that there were informants there on January 6th. At least in 2021, I've got an article I'm going to pull up in just a minute from the New York Times from September of 2021 that talks about the presence of informants. So we knew that was there. We knew that existed. We knew they were on the ground. We knew this was happening. The scandal is that this happened and nobody has paid the price in the government, in the FBI, and elsewhere. That's the scandal. The scandal is that it's nearly 4 years after this happened on January 6, 2021, and the media still lies about it. In fact, I've got a clip to play in just a minute from an ABC reporter, Mr. Bobblehead, doing this as he talks, who still doesn't get it. It is the left and the Democrats and the deep state and the media that are the deniers of reality. And they continue despite all the evidence. This is just the latest revelation. It's not even a revelation. It's just it's like, here's the truth for the 600th time. How many more times can we prove it? And they still pursue and maintain the narrative that is not true, the Trump insurrection. It's like Trump-Russia collusion. I mean, it was like double jeopardy. I mean, how many times could they keep trying that crap? They tried to get the CIA to pursue it. And I'll get to that in a minute because, I'm fired up. I'm upset. And Kash Patel has got to get in there and clean this out. You know what the biggest criminal organization in America is today? It's the FBI. That's the biggest criminal organization in this country. And make no mistake about it, as I'm going to reveal to you today, it's the breadth of their treachery. The FBI does not exist to catch bad guys. The FBI exists to entrap innocent American citizens for the expediency of benefiting the Democrat Party and the deep state. That's it. They are an instrument of evil, an instrument of injustice. That's why the FBI exists. And I got a million examples here that are going to blow your mind. I'm going to refresh your mind in many ways. But this is what is startling. This is the dam that is breaking with this report. It's not about the presence of informants. We knew there were informants. We didn't know there were 26 there. We didn't know there were 26, but we knew they were there. So anyway, just to get into the specifics here, to give you a quick tutorial, if you will, on what we did learn from this. So actually, let me do it this way. I'm going to pull up this. I'm going to pull up this this screenshot. Okay, this is a New York Times article. Look at the date. Look carefully. Published September 25th, 2021. Headline: Among those who marched into the Capitol on January 6th, an FBI informant. That was in 2021. So now, what do we find from the Horowitz report? Inspector General report? Oh, there were informants at the Capitol. 26. Now, this New York Times article from 2021, by the way, they point out that there were even more than one. You know, here's the first, just a couple of pull quotes. As scores of Proud Boys made their way chanting and shouting toward the Capitol on January 6th, one member of the far-right group was busy texting a real-time account of the march. The recipient was his FBI handler. And it goes on January 6th, and for months after, the records show the informant, who was affiliated with a Midwest chapter of the Proud Boys, denied that the group intended to use violence that day. Oh, but I thought, you realize Enrique Torrio, who was the leader of the Proud Boys, he was sentenced to 22 or 23, I think it's 22 years in prison. And yet, in this New York Times article, they make it clear, without intending to certainly, that there was no planned insurrection. It didn't happen. The Proud Boys weren't there to create an insurrection. And Enrique Tarrio and countless other people that were sitting in prison for that very crime that didn't occur. The FBI also had an additional informant with ties to another Proud Boys chapter that took part in the sacking of the Capitol. Oh, yes, the sacking of Capitol, like the sacking of Rome. We ran away with all the treasure, didn't they? The sacking of the Capitol. What a bunch of blowhard morons and liars. So anyway, it goes on, and at the end, by the way, after all the quote unquote violence took place, the FBI had access to this information and text, and it said, and one of them wrote, "That was not what I expected to happen today. All from us showing up and starting some chants and getting the normies all riled up." So they were the Proud Boys, who the left and the media and the Democrat Party claimed were there inciting the insurrection. Well, the people that were there that are accused of inciting insurrection were shocked by that there was violence there. Kind of odd, don't you think? Yeah, so and here's Enrique Tarrio wasn't even at the Capitol on January 6th. He wasn't even at the Capitol. And Enrique Tarrio was himself a former FBI informant. So anyway, that's piece one, right? We knew there were informants on the ground. Now, what did we learn from this report? Well, there were more than 24 confidential human sources. Now, be careful, because the left out there, their supporters are stupid. They don't have two brain cells to rub together, so they're easily manipulated. But we will not be manipulated. There were no FBI agents there. They can say, yeah, there were no FBI agents that were technically, working for the FBI in an official capacity. But, they're contract workers. So the FBI has these confidential human sources they use all the time. These are FBI informants who get paid by the FBI to do what the FBI asked them to do. So, yeah, there weren't, Christopher Wray wasn't there no kidding. No one's saying that. But this is there were no FBI. Anyway. So 3 of these 26 FBI informants, they were tasked with gathering information for domestic terrorism cases who might have been going to the rallies on January 6th, one of whom entered the Capitol building. So 3 of them is what they're telling us from this report were working for the FBI directly on January 6th. And yet somehow they want us to believe that the 23 others had not been directed to be in the area and did so on their own initiative. Folks, do they think we're flipping stupid? What are the odds that 23 confidential human sources, 23 FBI informants, they all just wake up on the same day, they all happen to have been employed by the FBI, and they all decide, I've got to get to the Capitol today. I've got to get to the Capitol. I want to be there. Does anyone buy that? What are the odds? Now, here's what's fascinating as well. So these people were there on their own. The FBI didn't ask them to be there. And yet many of these 26 broke the same laws that landed other American protesters in prison. Okay, slight technical glitch. I'm back. Okay. So of the 26 in total FBI informants, 4 confidential sources entered the Capitol during the riot. Entered the Capitol. Now, that was unforgivable. For that act alone, they would track you down to your home and do an early morning raid where they hope to shoot you. But they would arrest you in front of your neighbors. They'd bring in, SWAT teams to arrest you. That's what that crime merited. They hunted people down for that. Another 13 entered the restricted area around the Capitol, a security perimeter established in preparation for election certification on 6 January. So here is one of the big scandals from this. So you have 23 people there who had been employed by the FBI, but weren't there working for the FBI, allegedly, and they were shielded. Why were these people not prosecuted? The first rioter to enter the Capitol on January 6th, do you know who it was? It was Michael Sparks. He was 47 years old at the time, and he was convicted of civil disorder, disorderly conduct, and other related charges at a trial in March. And the U.S. District Judge Timothy Kelly, who himself should be disbarred and thrown in prison, well, he sentenced Michael Sparks to 53 months in prison and a $2,000 fine. Do you know what his crime was? Do you know what Michael Sparks did to land him in prison for 53 months? You won't believe this. You won't believe, your mouth's going to drop in horror at what a foul creature this Michael Sparks is. Well, he climbed into the Capitol building through a broken window. And that landed him in prison for 53 months, charged with civil disorder, disorderly conduct, and other related charges at a trial. And yet, well, there were 4 of these 26 confidential human sources who also entered the Capitol during the riot, and they just got away scot-free. Not a thing, not going to hear anything. No, nothing happened to them. Now, here's Christopher Wray. You know, when he was asked about whether or not there were confidential human sources on the ground, we knew there were, but he wouldn't comment on it. Remember this?
Does the FBI have confidential human sources? Did the FBI have confidential human sources embedded within the January 6th protesters on January 6th of 2021?
Well, Congressman, as I'm sure you can appreciate, I have to be very careful about what I can say about when.
Even now, because that's what you told us 2 years ago.
May I finish? About when we do and do not, and where we have and have not used confidential human sources. But to the extent that there's a suggestion, for example, that the FBI's confidential human sources or FBI employees in some way instigated or orchestrated January 6th, that's categorically false.
Did you have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters inside the Capitol on January the 6th prior to the doors being open?
Again, I had to be very careful.
It should be a no. Can you not tell the American people, no, we did not have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters positioned inside the Capitol?
Gentleman's time has expired.
You should not read anything into my decision not to share information.
Director Wray,
confidential human
gentleman's
sources.
time has expired.
Well, there you go. And that was the moment, one of the many moments where we knew that there were confidential human sources on the ground, in case you weren't reading even the New York Times, who was reporting on it. And I don't care if some of you were out there saying, Drew, you're beating a dead horse. I'm going to beat this dead horse. I'm going to beat this dead horse all day because I don't think people get it. I don't think people get it. It can't be said enough. And there's too much to extract from what's happened over the last number of years that needs to be said. And there needs to be accountability for what this FBI has done to the American citizenry and to this country, because they are out of control and they are totally lawless. And we're better off and safer without them existing at all, period. But the pipe bombs, right? We couldn't find the pipe bombs. How is it that you can track down somebody with cell phone data, who was in the Capitol building, Grandma Rose, in Kentucky, and you can arrest her and throw her in prison and try her. But when for politely walking in between the, whatever, in the boundaries inside the Capitol building, you can track her down because she's such a threat. But when it comes down to somebody who placed pipe bombs at the Capitol, you cannot find that person and you don't seem interested in finding them at all. You just give up. You just give up. Somebody planted pipe bombs and you just give up on finding that person. But for 3 years, you track down every person who took a selfie inside the Capitol. Give me a break. All of this was designed, of course, to give a political advantage to the Democrat Party, to give them another scandal, to try and regain and capture political power for themselves. That's what they were doing. And so the point is, there needs to be follow-up after this. This can't be it. Oh, okay. And I got to point something else out. You realize they're releasing this information 1 month after the election took place? 1 month after the election took place? Gee, that's convenient. It's almost like the Hunter Biden laptop story. Just bury it. Bury it while the election's going on. Lie about it. Get 51 former intelligence community members to sign their name on a piece of paper, lying, saying that this is Russian disinformation, when in fact the FBI had already verified that it was Hunter Biden's laptop, but they played these games during elections to interfere as well. Election interference. And here we go again. Yeah, we won the election. But here we go. They eliminated an additional scandal for the Biden administration and for the Democrat Party by waiting 1 month to release this. And of course, Christopher Wray resigns before it comes out. Incredible. But first, before I continue, Most people know that staying hydrated is essential to nearly every bodily function. But 75% of Americans, 75%, that's crazy, still do not consume enough fluid daily. And I'm actually one of them. As we age, natural bodily changes make staying hydrated even harder, especially without artificial additives or excess sugars. That is where Native Path comes in with extra help. Native Path's Hydrate is not just another drink mix. It's a thoughtfully designed formula packed with BCAAs and all 9 essential amino acids to help with muscle recovery and overall vitality. Plus, it's completely sugar-free and 100% natural. With their Native Hydrate product, you can fuel your body with essential electrolytes. And by the way, I just want to say, I have this. I am drinking it. And the tangerine in particular is my favorite. And it is the best tasting electrolyte solution that I've had. And I've tried quite a few. So, you know, I can actually tell you. But anyway, unlike other hydration drink mixes that are designed for marathon runners and those types of people, and they contain, 1,000 milligrams of sodium, Native Hydrate contains just 230 milligrams of sodium for optimal daily hydration. It doesn't have any artificial flavors or sugars or dyes. It's only 5 calories per serving. Right now, you can get up to 44% off just for being a listener to this show, The Drew Allen Show. Every order comes with a 365-day money-back guarantee, 2 free gifts, plus free shipping. You visit nativehydrate.com/Daily Clout to see what Native Hydrate could do for your health. Again, the site name, it's nativehydrate.com/Daily Clout. And I am a fan. Now, it would be easy to dismiss, I suppose, the presence of these informants on January 6th and believe the media's lies, that they were uninvolved in instigating January 6th. They didn't have any involvement whatsoever if they didn't have a long history of doing just that, of entrapping people for their political gain. Now, remember the Governor Whitmer kidnapping plot? I want to refresh your memory with that because this is one of several examples that I'll go through of the Democrat Party. Well, the Democrat Party's FBI, it's the same thing. Using the FBI to bring about these political objectives. Now, on October 8th, 2020, Whitmer announced the shocking arrest of several men accused of planning to kidnap and possibly assassinate her. You remember this, right? And we had all these alarming headlines. It was just like the J6, insurrection. And they used that news of that plot to blame Trump for inciting violence. You seeing a connection here? Now think about this. This was October 8th, 2020. This is a month before the election. So you already have the FBI trying to paint Trump as somebody who is inciting violence against his political opponents. So, is it beyond reason that when this failed, and the revelations continued to pour out that there was cheating that took place in the election, and the Republicans, again, I have to say this again, because not enough people understand this. The Republicans had the ability to send those electoral votes back to the states to be adjudicated again. That was a legal process that existed, the Electoral Count Act of 1887. It's never been used, so people aren't familiar with it, but it exists. Democrats have tried to use it themselves to overturn election results. But Republicans actually had the support to do so. And so January 6th obviously was intended to disrupt, the proceedings on January 6th. But it wasn't to the benefit of Trump or America or Republicans. It was done so that this got rubber stamped and the certification happened. That's why it took place on January 6th. That's why it was so imperative, because there was actually momentum and movement to actually use that Count Act as it was intended to prevent cheating. And that Electoral Count Act of 1887, for the 1500th time, if you haven't heard me talk about it before, it was created 11 years after the Democrats stole the election of 1876. The Democrats stole the election of 1876. Republicans knew it. They refused to concede. Samuel Tilden won the election. He was the Democrat candidate for president. But Rutherford B. Hayes ended up becoming president. You see how that worked even back then? But they didn't have a means to deal with this. So they created this confusing Electoral Count Act that was never used, even after it was created in 1887, to deal with that circumstance. And finally, here we go, 2020, they stole the election like they did in 1876. And lo and behold, that was the reason it existed. And we were going to use it and wield it because President Grant gifted it to us, as confusing as it was. And so the Democrats need to eradicate that possibility. And they did. That's what happened on January 6th. But anyway, with this Governor Whitmer plot that sounds strangely familiar to what happened on J6, you know, they took it. Joe Biden commended the FBI immediately for thwarting this abduction plan. He wrote a statement saying there's a through line from President Trump's dog whistles and tolerance of hate, vengeance, and lawlessness to plots such as this one. So here we go. It's like Trump-Russia collusion. They create the evidence, and the media, useful lapdogs that they are for the left and tyranny in this country, they go out and repeat it. And who does it benefit every time? The Democrat Party. Now, how did this happen? Well, we had an examination of this, and we learned that the FBI actually came up with the plot. It was entrapment. They were looking for a way to hurt Donald Trump, and so they sat there in their offices in D.C. or their borough offices, wherever they were located. Christopher Wray probably at the head, overseeing the discussion. What do we do? Well, I got an idea. Why don't we find a homeless person and a group of people, and we will go in there, we'll get some informants, we'll plant them there, and we will have them convince these people to kidnap Governor Whitmer. Now, the FBI informants will give them the idea, and then we'll pounce on it. Then we'll report it that they're trying to do this. And that's exactly what happened. So you had the main ringleader here was a guy named Chappell, Dan Chappell, 34 years old at the time. He was an Iraq War veteran. He was a contract truck driver for the U.S. Postal Office. Chappell joined this group called the Wolverine Watchmen. He became a FBI informant. They hired him as an informant. And over the course of the next 7 months, Chappell ingratiated himself with the men. What's remarkable about this is from the Federalist, reporting on this back in a while back. But Chappell ingratiated himself with the men. As one defense attorney described his method, with his eye particularly on Fox 37, the reported mastermind of the plot. While the media portrayed Fox as a military leader prepping an army of white supremacists to overthrow state governments across the country, he was in reality a homeless man living in the dilapidated basement of a vacuum repair shop without running water or a toilet in a Grand Rapids strip mall. One co-defendant referred to him as Captain Austin. So the FBI informant goes to this guy, Fox, who's a homeless guy, prime person to fill full of this crap. So anyway, Chappell, he became known as Big Dan to the group. He created encrypted chats and gave real-time access to his FBI handlers working out of the Detroit FBI field office as the far-fetched plan unfolded. So informants and targets mulled over how to blow up a bridge outside Whitmer's summer cottage, kill her security detail, blah, blah, blah. So, he's in a chat like, hey, guys, I got an idea. He's the FBI informant. Wouldn't it be cool if we blew up this bridge outside of Whitmer? Oh, man, that'd be so good. And he sends it to the FBI. Okay, we're getting closer with these people. In exchange for his work, the FBI paid Chappell at least $54,000 in cash. But Chappell, he wasn't an FBI agent. No FBI agents were involved in this. No, just an FBI informant. See how this works? contract worker. It's like hiring an assassin. Oh, I didn't do it. This guy did it. Part of that haul that he received from the FBI in payment included an envelope handed over by his primary FBI handler in December 2020 filled with $23,000 in cash as payment for a mission accomplished. There were other informants involved, a longtime FBI source named Steve Robeson from Wisconsin. He organized a militia meeting in Ohio. Robeson arranged events throughout the summer, including at his remote property in Cambria, Wisconsin. He constructed a kill house for the men to practice shooting. What else did he do? At one point, Robeson suggested the exercises could be used to storm a state capitol building or governor's residence. Robeson is a convicted felon several times over. You know what I wonder about all this? I wonder if the Democrats knew how much they were going to cheat and steal the 2020 election, and this wasn't the beginning of that. I don't know. I don't know if they were smart enough to anticipate where this would go, that the Republicans actually would have, Trump would have the courage to stand up to them and refuse to concede. I wonder if they calculated that. And so they thought, hey, this is what we're going to start to do. We're going to build this narrative and it'll lead all the way to January 6th. And then we can use it then. Because, these FBI agents, these informants, they started getting involved with the Proud Boys in the summer of 2020. When the COVID stuff was going on and the plot was being created to steal the election. These are the questions we need to ask. These are the questions. So anyway, so that's what happened with Governor Whitmer. Okay. So now that we have this information out there that you've received, that I've transmitted to you, we're ready to put on the big boy pants and graduate. You've graduated Drew University. Now you're going off to graduate school to get a PhD in all of this, okay? So you've got all these confidential human sources out there that are doing the bidding of the Democrat Party via the FBI. Now, I want to go somewhere else. Travel with me to, are you ready? To the Hunter Biden Burisma scandal. Now, an FBI informant that was used by the Obama administration, who was a trusted source then, he told the FBI in, I believe, 2017, and then he repeated the claims again in 2020. He told the FBI in 2017, that he had a conversation with the head of Burisma, the owner of Burisma, the energy company that was paying Hunter Biden $1 million a year to sit on the board. He told me so this informant relayed to the FBI, he had a conversation with the owner, and he said that, he paid the Bidens $10 million total and that it was for protection. So that's it. So he relays this conversation. And what's remarkable about this too is that the FBI wasn't even interested. They didn't even investigate his claims. Not until Chuck Grassley, started investigating this himself. This would be the committee, the Republicans who are looking into evidence of corruption. Now, we know that they're guilty of sin. We know that Joe Biden engaged in quid pro quo, that he went over there because Joe Biden bragged about this. You can still watch the video. He went over and he told the president of Ukraine at the time, you're going to fire the special prosecutor looking into Burisma for corruption, which is where my son Hunter is getting paid $1 million a year. And you're going to fire that special prosecutor. You're going to take him off the case so that no one's looking into Burisma anymore. And if you don't do it, I'm going to withhold $1 billion or $1.5 billion in aid to Ukraine. And sure enough, the special prosecutor was fired. So we already know what happened right there. It's obvious. The son's on the board. He's getting paid $1 million a year. Joe Biden goes over there and he intervened. Why would you do this? Why would you intervene in a case in Ukraine? Are you understanding this right now? The vice president of the United States is going over to Ukraine. There's some little energy company over there and he's aware of it, and somehow he goes over and he's interested in this one energy company that happens to employ his son, and that's where he wants to stop this. This prosecutor is corrupt. He's looking into Burisma, pull him off the case. I mean, come on, folks. Come on, give me a break. Give me a break. I got a lot of papers here. I know. I'm sorry. Bear with me. I'm trying to keep it all organized here for you. So, as I was saying, this FBI informant that told the FBI about these payments to the Bidens at Burisma, his name was Alexander Smirnov. Okay. Now, David Weiss, who was a special counsel, they indicted this guy, a while back. Now, it was the confidential human source, this guy, Smirnov, on June 26, 2020, he told his handler, right? He told his FBI handler that the owner of Burisma claimed he'd paid Hunter and Joe Biden each $5 million in bribes in exchange for protection from being investigated by the Ukrainian prosecutor, which is a truth. Whether this exact payment happened or not, we know it happened. And anyway, so his name was revealed, and the House Republicans were championing this report. They got a hold of this report, and they were using this as evidence of Biden family corruption. Now, I have to wonder, I don't know if Alexander Smirnov was a liar or not. I don't. I mean, is there some scenario out there where the Democrats wanted them to discover this FD 1023 report so that they could then nuke the investigation into Joe Biden? But think about this, folks. What difference does it make? Joe Biden went over there and had a special prosecutor removed who was looking into Burisma, which was the company that paid his son Hunter $1 million a year. And we know, 10% for the big guy. We have the emails. We know he got a kickback from this and that. And they had shell companies galore and so on and so forth to do this. We know what was going on. He was shaking down foreign countries for money. And he was funneling it through his son and his brother, and they were making payments for the truck and whatever else. Yeah, we know what happened here. Joe Biden's a crook. And so that's a reality. But suddenly introduce this story which tells the truth. But you claim that the conversation didn't happen. So you understand what they're doing here? So all of this effectively happened, but you got this one FBI informant who says something that he later admits didn't happen. So we can see the reality without this FBI informant. We know exactly what happened, but he comes in and maybe some of the details didn't happen. But also, I mean, what is the crime here? So this FBI informant told the FBI about a conversation that didn't happen. The FBI didn't even bother looking into it in 2017 when he told them this information. Now, anyway, this guy also had tax issues and things like that. This is what happens with a lot of these FBI informants because, the type of person you generally get to be an FBI informant comes with some problems and issues because they're being tasked with doing illicit things. And so they're probably already engaged in illicit activities for the FBI to come and utilize their services. And so I don't know if they squeezed the guy and convinced him to admit that he lied. I mean, maybe he's telling the truth or not. But there's certainly a scenario out there where he's telling the flipping truth. And the FBI comes in, just like they did to General Michael Flynn, and they convince Mike Flynn to admit to a crime he didn't commit because they are threatening his livelihood. They're threatening to go after his family and son. So the FBI abuses their power to get people to admit to doing things that they didn't even do a lot of times. So that could have been the case here. But there's something beyond this because Smirnov is being sentenced to prison. I guess, 6 years is what it is. But let me tell you a couple other things about this Smirnov real quick. So Weiss's indictment presented a powerful case that Smirnov lied on June 26, 2020, when the CHS, confidential human source, told his handler he'd had conversations with Burisma executives in 2015 and 2016. And so an investigation by Weiss's team concluded Smirnov did not meet the Burisma executives until March 1st, 2017, meaning the earlier conversations could not have occurred. So, I mean, if he lied, right? But he's not the only confidential human source who has lied to the FBI, is he? Is he? Does the name Stephen Halper ring a bell? Stephen Halper, you remember him? So Stephen Halper was the guy who tried to get Michael Flynn originally. We had these electronic communications between Halper, and he told the FBI that this Russian-born Svetlana Lakova had latched on to Michael Flynn at a Cambridge academic gathering, and then after the dinner, surprised everyone and got into Flynn's cab and joined Flynn on the train ride to London. So he concocts this story. This is like the PP tape. Fabrication of his mind. Halper told this story. Oh, yeah, this Russian chick latched onto his arm and they disappeared into the night together. Wow. What's going on here? Well, Halper, however, he didn't even attend the dinner. So he couldn't have witnessed any of that happening. And the supposed cab ride didn't ever happen. It was a piece of fiction. So Halper lied to the FBI. Did he go to prison? He did not. Now, how about Rodney Jaffe? Remember Rodney Jaffe? Does that name ring a bell? Rodney Jaffe? Think hard. He's the confidential human source who concocted that Alpha Bank hoax. That was the piece of fiction whereby the Trump administration was pinging the servers of a Moscow bank, establishing secret communication channel with Vladimir Putin himself. And they were going through Alpha Bank to do this. So Jaffe, he told that tale to the FBI. And then he linked up with a former Clinton campaign lawyer, Michael Sussman. And he pushed the CIA to investigate the second Russian hoax. And this was just as the Trump presidency was beginning. Now, Christopher Steele, Hillary Clinton, they were all involved in creating this Steele dossier, which was what? It was lies, which was fed to who? The FBI, the CIA. So when is Hillary Clinton going to go to prison? When is she going to be tried? When is Jaffe going to be tried? How about the people that were involved in this entire enterprise? Huh? When is it going to happen? So Smirnov, conveniently, his testimony is damning for the Biden family. And so he gets axed in order to undermine the narrative that had been built that was truthful, based on truth, that the the Biden family was a bunch of crooks. So he's axed. He's going to prison. But Stephen Halper, Rodney Jaffe, all of these individuals, they lied to the FBI. Why are there no consequences? I mean, George Papadopoulos, who can forget that? The FBI, it was an FBI informant that tried to entrap him in some bar, whatever it was, in London. So this is how the FBI operates. They are the enemy of America and Americans. Attention, parents. I've got an early Christmas gift for you. We've all been there. 1 minute, your kiddo is bouncing off the walls. An hour later, they're super sick. You're helpless, and it can turn your plans upside down, especially on vacation. After thousands of customer requests, the wellness company has just launched the Kids Medical Emergency Kit. You no longer have to deal with emergency illnesses in panic mode. No parent wants to be in panic mode, believe me. Now, you can have 6 critical medications at your fingertips to treat 20-plus illnesses for issues like strep throat, ear infections, lice, respiratory illnesses, avoiding urgent care, and hospitals. The Kids Emergency Kit has been hand-selected by the wellness company's medical board and includes chewable amoxicillin, dissolvable ivermectin, an optional EpiPen, and more. And, of course, it comes with a guidebook to assist you. Ordering the kit is very simple. Only parents can order for their children. You fill out an intake form. You'll get a verification call for consent, and then it's just delivered to your door. That's it. Order your kids' emergency kit today. Remove panic from your life And if one or two of these scripts runs out, you don't have to order a whole new kit. You can just restock what you need. Go to dailycloudhealth.com and grab your kid's emergency kit right now. Use code Drew Allen, that's me, to save up to $40 at checkout. And these kits are only available in the USA. Okay, so yeah, actually, I want to come back. I want to play this clip of this ABC report. So we know what happened on January 6th. We've known since most of us knew, like, on January 6th, those of us that weren't a bunch of pansies, they wanted to bend the knee and go with the narrative, like the George Floyd thing. Oh, just it's like Caitlin Clark over there at the WNBA. Oh, I'm sorry for being white. Yeah. We know you're a coward like most of them. But anyway, listen to, so after everything you've heard from me and everything you've already known, this is still the left's maintaining the lie.
Yeah, Kira, I mean, this investigation has been 4 years in the making, and the Inspector General, Michael Horowitz, for the Justice Department, really looked and tried to drill down on the FBI's use of confidential informants leading up to and also on January 6th. Now, it's no secret, we've covered in court proceedings, that there were confidential informants for the FBI on the ground among the crowd. But this report kind of sheds light on why that was the case. And what we've learned in terms of numbers is there was only 26 confidential human sources among the crowd that were in Washington that day. Now, 3 of those who actually entered the Capitol, this report found, were actually assigned by a field office with tracking a specific domestic terrorism suspect in a case that the FBI was pursuing at the time. There were a total of 4 of those informants who allegedly entered the Capitol. But this report also makes clear that not a single paid undercover FBI employee was present in D.C. on January 6th, not just at the riot, but at any of the protests that were planned that day. And this refutes, Kira, what we've obviously heard from a lot of people on the far right, including people like Steve Bannon, who have said that this was a Fedsurrection, in their words, a federally, funded and promoted riot where people who were part of the deep state were among that crowd cheering people on. And that is a direct tactic as a result of trying to shift blame, obviously, away from President-elect Donald Trump, who urged his thousands of followers to march to the Capitol that day, Kira.
Well, there's the gaslight, and of course he ends, they're trying to shift blame. Trump encouraged this and incited this insurrection, which we knew was not an insurrection from the very beginning. There was no insurrection. But notice, there were only 26 informants there. And that's why earlier I talked to you about, he's talking to Democrats, and they are brain dead. They are brain dead. They are incapable of examining data, incapable of believing anything that is not fed to them. They are not capable of critical thinking. So there he is talking to the brain dead left, saying, here are your talking points. See, this refutes the narrative that the far right is talking about how the FBI was involved in this in some capacity, because, there was not a single actual FBI agent present. Was there a FBI agent present in the Whitmer kidnapping plot? That's normal. No, they were all confidential human sources. It's the confidential human sources who are used, and I guess this is one of the reasons they love doing it too, because they can sit there and say, "No, the FBI, they weren't." Listen to me. They want to pretend like the confidential human source is not associated with the FBI. The FBI is paying them money. They paid them. They are employed by the FBI. They are FBI. They're not agents, but they work for the FBI, and they do the FBI's dirty work. That's how this works. Here, there were no FBI agents on the ground, just 26, only 26 confidential human sources. That's all. Yeah. Well, we saw the damage that one fella did. What's his name? I'm sorry. You'll remember it, but I can't. The buffoon that was on camera, on video, calling for people to storm the Capitol. And he's the one of the many guys who of course, never, they weren't interested in him. There was evidence. There was more evidence to indict that guy than anyone else. Certainly Enrique Tarrio. And yet he walked away scot-free, no interest. He was on the, he was on the list, and then he was taken off the list of the most wanted, basically, on January 6th. So anyway, that is the flipping takeaway from this. No matter what truth and evidence comes out, the left is never going to bend the knee. They're never going to admit that they're wrong. They're never going to acknowledge reality. They still believe Trump-Russia collusion happened. They still believe it happened. And I am not ready to move on from the fact that Christopher Steele, Hillary Clinton, Jaffe, Mark Elias, everybody involved in the Trump-Russia collusion hoax. I think that hoax does it injustice because it was a crime. It wasn't a crime committed by Trump, but the hoax itself was a crime. If they're going to put this Smirnov guy in prison for lying to the FBI because he didn't have the conversation that he claimed to have had with him, you've got to apply the same standard to everyone else and put them in prison too. And the Trump-Russia collusion hoax was far more damaging than the thing that this guy said, which was based on reality anyway. Even if the conversation didn't happen, it did happen. The event happened. We know that from other evidence out there of what the Biden family crime syndicate was involved in. But no, here we go. FBI protecting its own, creating hoaxes, tearing the country apart, kidnapping plots, pipe bombs at the Capitol. This is your FBI doing this. To you. To me. Unfreaking believable. All right, I want to move on for a minute. You probably want me to as well. Canada, oh Canada. I did not have on my bingo card. Is that what they say? I didn't have it on my bingo card. Canada becoming maybe the greatest threat to us over the next 4 years. China, obviously. Iran. There are plenty of enemy nations out there, but Canada we tend to think is the friendly northern neighbor that's largely irrelevant. Now, Trudeau recently went down to Mar-a-Lago, to kiss Trump's ring, and he begged Donald Trump not to implement these 25% tariffs on Canada. He said this will destroy our economy because virtually all of their exports come to the United States of America. So while the prices will increase in America, and that will affect the American consumer, it's going to have a far greater effect on Canada in the long term because we will simply adapt, which is the intention, and we will become energy independent, for example, and we will start to manufacture here instead and create those goods and services to replace the now more expensive goods that we used to buy from Canada. And so he has that conversation and he goes back to Canada where he meets with his premiers in the different, territories or whatever they're called over there in Canada. And they are planning to have a trade war with the United States of America. They're trying to figure out ways to hurt America. Now, he's already admitted that they can't handle it or win a trade war. But for some reason, the little petty feminist tyrant, Trudeau, got his feelings hurt, and he can't control his emotions, and he's willing to destroy Canada in an effort to get Trump and stand up for his honor, whatever honor the little communist has. And this is going to be, it could be bad. It could be bad, but they're expressing hostility. I've got well, I guess I didn't upload the screenshot, but there's a Canadian journalist over there which speaks for a lot of the political types in the Trudeau administration, certainly, that is saying, I think I've got it here somewhere. Oh yeah. Here's what he said. This is Geoffrey P. Johnston, who wrote this on X. Trump is an ignorant bully. Canada will never join USA. Time for Canadians to stop thinking of USA as a friend. Under Trump, USA is a threat to Canada's economy and sovereignty. Most Canadians prefer our cooperative ways to American private medicine, gun violence, and imperialism. Well, those are fighting words. And the Canadians better think very carefully about who they vote for in the upcoming election, because Trudeau will be the undoing of Canada. It will be the end of Canada if they want to go to war with America and Trump, certainly, because we're not going to take it anymore. We're not going to be taken advantage of, and we play to win. We don't play to cooperate. We play to win. And what is so controversial? They're not willing to shore up their border. They're not willing to do things that are in the interest of the United States of America. I mean, we're not asking for a lot. We're asking for you to stop being little communists. We're asking for to stop, using the northern border and letting people come in here that don't belong in America, that wish to do us harm. It's not that complicated, little Justin. And the thing is, Canada's not doing well. And they suffer because they have a bunch of communist policies that are implemented by the little dictator, the son of the offspring, the bastard son of Castro. So, the things are very uncertain because of the reaction by the dictators to a formidable opponent now. And they better be careful because we have teeth. And it might be 2024, nearly 2025. But the world is not much different than it was, 100 or 200 or 300 years. I'm not talking about in terms of innovation. I'm talking about human nature. People think that the world is fixed, like Canada might never become part of the United States, that wars aren't going to happen anymore. They happen all over the place. I mean, we're fighting them all the time. We've got SEALs deployed here and there. We've got violence all over the world. But for some reason, we think it can erupt between us and Mexico and us and Canada. It can. It could. And, if Canada wants to play this game and cut off oil and natural resources that we depend upon in America, it could get very, very ugly. Wars have been fought repeatedly over such resources and circumstances. So, this is not something that's really a laughing matter, what's going on with Trudeau and the Canadian government. And we know, of course, also that the Canadian government, just like Joe Biden and our own government, have been infiltrated by the communist Chinese. China may be far away, separated by, an ocean. But Canada is our back door, is an entry point to the United States of America. And, they keep talking about Tulsi Gabbard. She can't be trusted. She's a Russian agent. Blah, blah. I've heard of that crap before. Trump has a collusion. The real threat is Canada and Trudeau's government. They're part of the Five Eyes. We share intel together. If Canada's going to take the position that America is now its enemy, why would these alliances persist? You see how fast things can change? How fast the dynamics can change? And we're not the villain here. Canada's the villain. Not the people, the ones that voted for Trudeau, but Trudeau and the communists over there. They are our enemy. And since they are communists, they are naturally inclined to side with other communists. And that would be Xi Jinping in China. So the threat is not Tulsi Gabbard sharing information with the Russians. It's the Canadians sharing our intel with the communist Chinese. And it is an unsettling feeling. We might be a big nation protected by oceans, but we've got Canada below, and we've got Canada above and Mexico below. And that has to be dealt with. You see, we have a vested interest in those people doing what we want them to do. Not violating their sovereignty, but making sure that they don't implement policies or do things like let caravans come across Mexico and enter our country and bring fentanyl and guns and terrorists and so on and so forth to this country. It can't be tolerated. It can't be tolerated. By the way, here's Trudeau again. I love to play this clip of him attacking Americans after he got back from Mar-a-Lago, telling us we made the wrong decision.
Now, it shouldn't be that way. It wasn't supposed to be that way. We were supposed to be on a steady, if difficult sometimes, march towards progress. And yet, just a few weeks ago, the United States voted for a second time to not elect its first woman president. Everywhere, women's rights and women's progress is under attack, overtly and subtly. But I want you to know that I am, and always will be, a proud feminist. You will always have an ally in me and in my government.
We were supposed to be on the path to progress. We're supposed. I didn't know. Did he always have a weird little effeminate lisp, or is he becoming a woman in his, rabid embrace of his new feminist identity that he wants everyone to know about? We were supposed to make progress, and now we've come backwards, says the male leader of Canada, Castro's bastard. So, anyway, incredible. All right, open a gold IRA with Birch Gold Group and get free silver coins shipped directly to your home. That's right. It's the most wonderful time of the year. The time of the year when Birch Gold gives away a free silver American Eagle coin for every $5,000 purchased. And here's the best part. You don't have to pay a penny out of pocket. By December 20th, simply convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in precious metals, and Birch Gold will send you free silver coins directly to your home. Now, you might be thinking, why do I need to diversify into gold? My guy's headed to D.C. Trump, things are good. Here's the facts. And it's a big one. An administration trying to put a dent in a $36 trillion national debt in just 4 years is like a field mouse trying to stop a freight train. We can't even afford to pay the interest on the debt, let alone the principal. So better be safe than sorry. Take action now to protect your savings. Text Daily Clout to 989898 for a free info kit on gold and to claim your eligibility for free silver on your purchase from Birch Gold. But you must do this by December 20th. Again, text Daily Clout to the number 989898 for peace of mind that lasts longer than 4 years. So anyway, if you didn't understand the breadth of the danger the FBI poses to the United States of America, I hope you understand it now. I mean, there's just a million different elements and ways to look at this, and and consequences of what's happened, and this J6 stuff. The scandal is that no one's paid for these crimes. No one paid for the crime of the Steele dossier, and there is pressure to have us bend the knee and adopt this wildly inaccurate, false claim that the FBI is not deeply corrupt, that Christopher Wray is not the problem. No, the FBI is rotten to the core. And Kash Patel has got to get in there. There's so many things we have to do over the next 4 years, but I think it's imperative that we get to the bottom of this and these people do go to prison. Do not get backed into a corner by your little leftist friends out there that are claiming that what they did to Trump is the same thing that we're trying to do to them. Trump was innocent. Many of these people are innocent. They entrapped them. We're not trying to trap anybody. See, the FBI tries to turn innocent people into criminals. All we are doing is trying to prosecute existing criminals. We're not trying to create hoaxes. There are no hoaxes. We just want there to be justice, and there has to be justice. It has to take place. It has to take place. So anyway, that's the full story on the FBI. This selective prosecution, these other people that get off the hook for lying to the FBI. This is what they do. It is not equal justice, and they are protecting their own. So let's break it apart. Let's get Kash Patel in there, and let's support the destruction of the FBI. All right, this is Drew Allen. God bless you all, and until next time.